Panel 3 is it's going to be interesting because it's your first after lunch panel, so your sugar levels are going to be different. But it's also called Culture and Tradition in Reform: Future Possibilities, which I think is kind of a misrepresentation of the work. It's more of a simplification, and you'll see what I mean when you see the presentations. But basically, we have our first presentation is going to be on the idea of food sovereignty. So I had kind of mentioned that before when we were talking about the food that we were going to eat, the Subway food, and I'm trying to look for the title of this, but I think it's just called Navajo Food Sovereignty. It's already on PowerPoint, and Mr. Avery Denny, who is works with the Denny Policy Institute and is also a faculty member at the Denny College in the Denny Studies Department of Denny Studies, will be presenting on behalf of Dana Elrich, who couldn't be here today, who submitted the presentation. But this is all kind of work in-house within the Denny Policy Institute anyway, so. I'm going to load you the presentation. I'm sorry? Yeah, you can, wherever you prefer.
Hey, good morning. Good afternoon. Yat yat is anibigi. Shidi I don't know Slinigi. Toduk onjid and Slido Totsonigo, a Bashin Tatnis that Edo Arot Sanjik Edashanala. Go yat a pedak 8 ashik ashidene. Aro a young. I think I'm the youngest one in this whole audience, so excuse me to come before you and speak. You're all my scholars and all my educators, professors, researchers, and all that. So you have more knowledge than what I'm going to present to you. Talking about Navajo culture is always something like, just imagine in a hogan sitting there and you kept getting the same mutton stew every day and the same fried bread. And after the first time, it was delicious. Second time, kind of like you backed away. And third time, fourth time, you don't want to eat it, sort of like. But it has some good quality information, this culture, history, Navajo perspective, because we are Navajos, and we within the four sacred mountains, Hatnila. So we come from here, and this is who we are, and we have a sovereignty that we can treat. We can feed, we can survive on our own. Once upon a time, back in the days, those days are not gone yet. So still here. So I'm going to use some of those ones. And food sovereignty is very, very important. Working with the researchers that in our, the researchers that we had under former Chief Justice Robert Yaz, who is not working at the college anymore. And we did a research study, and these young people or young students coming from different universities, they did research on food sovereignty. And this is that presentation that I want to make to you on that. So, Shinalan Lingo, Dana Elrich, she's the one that's supposed to do this morning, but she's on travel to Wisconsin and she's attending a meeting there. So it ties into our community, our nation, our government, food sovereignty. So one of the questions is that, let's say like a study reflects the ancient food, the native food that we used to eat at one time. And we made a change in history. So it's sort of like to say again, you know, like all the inside of the sheep, any cargo with Subway or hamburger. will say that we make that choice. We're made to believe that choice. But it's more nutrition to eat the inside of the sheep. So it's sort of like, so to analyze this and to see, to say, and research which is the better appetite, or which one is good, better for us to consume and eat, or to go out in the field to collect data and look at the study, the epidemic that we have on obesity and then cancer and all of that. So coming back to what we eat, we have to kind of like promote health by going back to our native plants and food. And who's going to do that? Maybe the government can do that. Maybe we can make that choice in our community. So through this study and through this, it's not coming on, see? It always happens when I speak. I don't want to mix, So there at the Net College, we have a mission of the Net Policy Institute is to articulate, analyze, and apply that the Nebebe has ani issues impacting the Navajo people in education, collaborating and serving the resources for policy and research. That's our mission. And it's a real strong word that we use for a purpose, for a reason. A lot of elders, they say, but here we use it for a purpose and for a reason as a process and education. Guides to research process of DPI by using Netsaha case, the concept of that. Navajo knowledge. Research to know by not researchers. A way of learning, a way of knowing. Just by looking at the forces of nature, cycle of nature. The rain, the natural order, and there you can say you know something coming from this natural order, forces of nature. So doing a research basis on that, or just by saying just looking, searching with your visual, listening, do a research based on that. There's that skill, that technique of it. To compile it and making like a formula to use, to present that people can understand and people can ingest that. That's a process of all applies in that. So we use that in our workstation. Okay, what is Food Sovereignty Initiative? So Food Sovereignty Initiative, the Net Policy Institute Land Grant Office, the Net College working on projects to address the lack of access to healthy food, affordable food, traditional food in different regions. And in relation to the health, economic, social, environment issue that associate with the modern food system on the Navajo reservation. So that's the big question. Yeah. How does that apply to our environment or our social society? So that's what we're addressing. Why should we even think about our food? Food system. Focus it in. So these are technical difficulties, so don't clean your glasses. sometimes we have these problems, but what are the impacts of modern food production on people's health and culture? What are the impacts on the environment? What does it make on that? So those are some of the questions. What are the economic impact? So those are the answers that we want to find through this presentation and do these researches. Students, they go out in the field, they go into the internet, they go do researches in different areas, and they gain information based on these questions. So holistic analysis, thinking about our consumption, where does our food come from today? How has that changed for Denny? Is there a connection between colonization and current health, economic, social issue? What role does food play? So food is a vital resource. We depend on it. So as in this presentation, you will find that what will happen if we run out of gas? Store 15 hours. Food is delivered to the stores, especially in rural area like in Penyon. If that food didn't come for at least about 1 week, 2 weeks, all the food's going to be gone in the stores. There's no food sovereignty. On top of that, too, also, there's these elders that say that teach you today, if you have no money, you can starve to death, you can die. They're saying that now. So it's true. So let's not forget about our stories. Let's not forget about our stories of the creation. We always refer back. Those are reference, information. These things already happened. So we go back into that, out of the destruction, out of the emergence, into each world settlement, out of the creation, events, laws, were established. You call these fundamental laws, natural law, Italia. Just like, not all this is the dust, little dust devil, the twister, so not all this is. That's natural law. They're not supposed to intrude. They're not supposed to invade. So they're stricken. There's a border right there. They're not supposed to do that. So they have a law. They're breaking the law. That natural law. Natural law is done. The restriction. They have a law restriction that they cannot invade each other's domain or territory. So these laws are restricted like that. They can work together and help one another. Structure Italia. These laws were placed before mankind. So we came into this world. They said that elders, they say that we are the last one to come into this world. So she came into this world from another system, solar system, another place in the universe. She came here and she put these human beings to live here. And after her work was done, her children, the twins, they were allowed to live here for 100 years only. And that 100 years to live has dropped down to about 75 years. As long as we live and eat right and breathe the fresh air, and then our life can be sustained for at least about 100 years, or else we're going to shorten it. So it's coming closer. And as you listen to a lot of these elders tell their story, is one day there's going to be a child that's born that's going to live only 1 minute. But see, and that's going to be the end of human civilization, of human existence here. So to extend our livelihood, to govern what we eat. Vegetation brought the intelligence into the creation of in the creation. So one of the stories said that the oratory divinity, the one that was able to speak, the one that was able to talk and share knowledge, was sitting there, and these plants came up to and got on his body and moved up to where his mouth is. And they went inside his mouth, and he began to chew it, and then it went into his system. The photosynthesis, what is in that plant gave him intelligence to have an outlook of the whole universe, the holistic view. According to that, as vegetation, as growth, and all the things that were planted there. So the yin is never it's all there. So you can't say there is no assumption, there's no God, there's no yin. There is. Here they are listed. The fire, water, air, pollen. When they all come together, life is formed. And that's what you call the yin. Happen. It's happening right now as you sit there inside of you. But when you die, they say, that sunlight, it comes out. That water comes out. That life comes out. Or you go back to the, so then it comes into you. Out of what you eat, it goes back into the ground. So that was established. So there is no assumption on need the yin. So right there, that makes everything grow. At the beginning, all the holy people could talk and speak and have good communication. So these plants that grow, they were established. The first category are poison plant. Second category are ceremonial plant. Third one, so when you say pollen, I don't eat pollen. No, it's Navajo ceremony. No way. If you don't eat pollen, then you don't eat orange. You don't eat apple. You can't go to the salad bar because you don't eat pollen. It's all in that salad bar. It's vegetation, it's plants, it's herbs. Other animal, the yaniki. What animal consumed is a part of that category. Other than the plants not for human use. Some of them, they're out there on the set. So these are 5 plant categories. So right there, what we can consume, what we can eat as food. So everything that we eat into our system as we eat, that's our food. So it keeps us alive, sustain our life. The way you broke it down is you have a plant there. It has a mind, body, soul, and spirit. It can feel, have life form. They have a purpose. Some of them are dangerous. So that natural plant, natural food. You always see this design too. It's depicted. The center part of that circle is the water. Plants, corn, nut, na yize, aro nut o. So these are very important. These were the first ones to set foot here, before mankind, before the ants, before insects, before mammal, before reptile. Plants were the first one to come into this world, to emerge. So they're going to be here for a long time, and we need to identify that and use it. Just to give you a real good understanding about it, says Natach Iyan. So they all have different names that's listed just out of that corn. Corn, nigi asai corn, nigi. You can fix it in every way, in many ways. These are recipe. And the ingredient is boiling hot water and pre-cooked corn that you just put 2 spoons in there and stir it and let it cool off and drink it or eat it or make it a patty or make it bread, and that's about it. No raisins, no sugar. It's an ideal consumption for a human being. So, see how many of them these are? Al-Khan. So, so sometimes we open our refrigerator and say, we ran out of food. But if you open the front door and look outside, there's thousands of food to eat out there that grows naturally. So there'll be a time where we open our door and say, oh no, we have no food. When we have no rain, there's going to be a problem that we have. But right now, when we have no food in our refrigerator, we don't need to panic. Just go outside and say, I can eat this for free. The Nefu timeline, so, okay, prior to European arrival, an hit in the tande, keda ilyende, na corn, squash, beans, in henda hat lena wild plants. Chada inde chiyan adat aro na aje hunting, game, meat. Aro kwa ya the net. Aro ya bee. Aro tlon. Tlon. Supposed to say that. Tlon hat ne ho. You're supposed to say la hey tlon la. Sleep bit la hey. La hey beta inna. Supposed to say that. You're supposed to taste peridot. The best one, this peridot is a vegetarian. So it's really good to understand what you're eating in the previous. People sustained, they lived to be 104 years old. There was no disease then. These are just like research again. European influence. They brought a lot of things. Sheep, cattle, horses, melon. But a lot of our fruit trees were all here before the Spanish. Some watermelon were already here. Flour, sugar. And European, they brought some of these items. 1830, she came to the southwest. Scorched earth to kill all your vegetation to the ground, to starve you out. They made you not to be dependent on yourself. They made you feed you what they want you to eat, so they could make profit, sell it to you. Beans, sheep reduction. The same thing happened again when we were released on Fort Sumner. So that we could be in a market, so that we could sell our sheep to them and sell our wool product and all of that. Overgrazing, and we were heartbroken and we were hurt. We were in agony. Yeah. So you're thinking, where did all this disease and diabetes and all that come from? but they chat that there's lot of seed. A bet had no to eat lot of milk. Ah, she need chan that is not they need to bet the hot and then nago. We never used to drink dairy milk. Ah, she Lord, I remember in the tray and when you dispose of your food in the BIA, eat your drink your milk and it's not on and we have used to fork all the time. Even though we're not used to it, today, these are some of the things that are given to us through commodity. Cheese, those are processed. All of these things were given to us. Yeah, you went. I thought the joke, but the uncle, hey, don't worry about it. Our Uncle Sam, out of the first grocery store opened in Wonder Rock, 1968, Fat Mart, Imperial Mart, no, so. We moved away from our own produce, our planting. It was made available for us. On top of that, they give you food stamp. So, out of about 1990, fruits and vegetables were reportedly consumed less than. So today, fried potatoes, fried bread, tortilla, drinks, pop. You're supposed to drink water, but is that water when it's in a bottle? What is real water? Is that organic or is that plastic water? Does that water have life in it? There's a big question, yeah. So I could go on and on. See that food desert. How does a food desert? Right there, see? These areas right here, and that where it says Farmington over there. There's Page over there. Flagstaff right there. Winslow, all of that. Those are places. All that red, pink stuff is a food desert. So we drive at least about 5 hours just to go to town and get food and drive back. Gee, you know. We could starve. Our time is up, so there was a whole lot. Talk about diabetes here. 1 person out of 6,000 had diabetes in 1937. Today, 1 out of 3. Out on the calcium, juniper, gut, that's our calcium. Edigi, 1 tablespoon versus 1 cup. That's how much calcium that we used to consume using our traditional food. So this was like, but if you need this presentation, we're always available to present it to your local area, chapter, and request us. Even though Robert Yazzie is on vacation, he can do this presentation. He needs to pay for his car, and then light bill, and he has all the PowerPoint, all there. So, and if you don't have any money, he works for a ribeye. Yes. Oh. Next question. I'm just kidding. Joe, the statement that you could kind of like think about it is probably like, use traditional knowledge to educate me. Don't teach me about it. Show me how to use it. Put it into a process where it will be beneficial to everybody. Educate me through culture, history. Show me how to do it. So the next step is, let's start the workshop and do it. Not just talk about it. the ika holo, symbolic holo, drawing holo, that suits from young people to old age. It's a universal knowledge. That's what it is. A child can understand this traditional aspect. You don't have to read it. You don't have to talk about it. It's a living etiquette. It's learned in the home. It's everybody's law. It's moral. So there's even research study that's been done that if you take the language out of a society, Navajo language, for instance, if you remove that from the generation, from the society, then there's going to be chaos. If you take culture, a way of life from the society, it's going to be chaos. So to get your moral, behazani, ethics, to restore that, respect, communication, put all that component back into the society. Then you'll reestablish the communication and understanding. So that's the way to do it. So it's all in there. So this government, it does not leave out, it does not discriminate. It's for everybody to use. So it's safe. It's good. Actually, the only harm that it can be is politicians are scared of this because it's too good. In this government, you can't lie and you can't cheat. But it can heal. The outcome is going to be better. It's a good government. So that's what I started with, is this. It looks like that mutton stew that keeps coming in the Hokan and over and over and over and over again. Nobody wants to eat it, nobody wants to taste it. And people talk about it all like that, But if you put it over here and look at it real good, this good government is about Navajo people. It's good government. It has all the component from digital chili, the one that's going to be born today, and then the one that's going to live on 100 years. It's beneficial to all those people. And then it's good for the government. It's good for the environment. It's good for the nature environment. So it includes all that. It will be beneficial. So though it's not, it doesn't belong to just one person. It belongs to everybody. Everybody has access to it.
Thank you.
I was just going to make a comment about that. The same question. The answer to it is another thing that Avery was mentioning to me once upon a time we were driving around Window Rock is that when people start coming out of their houses and filling in some of the potholes around here, that's the opposite of discrimination. You're encouraged to pitch in where you think it's necessary and just get up on your own and just do it. One of the lines in the paper at the very end was a line that another line that Avery fed to me once upon a time was, nobody is out to ask the chapter house or the agency or Window Rock for permission to perform a ceremony. You find the people that know how to do this, bring them together, and you do it. And I mean that's the opposite of discrimination. That's encouraging participation. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should start thinking about regulating that.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Talaman, and I'm originally from Cornfields. I just, you were talking about the fundamental law, and I believe that I believe in God. I believe there is one God, and He's the King of Kings, and He believes, or I believe that He gives every breath to us, and He created the fire and pretty much all the elements that he talked about. And he controls all the universe. If not, there would be chaos. And there's only one God. And I just want to tell you that, going back to fundamental law, there's a lot of loopholes in the fundamental law, so much where there is, and there are lawyers that agree with it, where it allows people to get away with so much, with theft, because of the, and, it's forgiving. And I think that's where the Navajo Nation, we need to go back and we need to look at those fundamental laws with those lawyers and close some of those gaps. And we need to think about even the people that are growing up that believe in God and one God. We need to include that in there. Like I said, there are many fundamental laws, and the Navajo Nation is actually set up, and I've heard this before, where it's kind of like the Iranian government, where the Ayatollah is like the medicine man, and the order that the fundamental law is written is not a good law. I know that in the past, we were pretty much set up like the Jewish laws, where there was a headman, and that headman governed that community, kind of like what we're set up today. And my question to you is, do you agree that we need to look at the fundamental laws and close those loopholes and make it diverse, even to allow Christianity in there? I know that parts of the fundamental law, it does help, like some of the EPA. It is good in that area, but there is so much that needs to be done. We need to go back and look at that and sit down with the lawyers to just rewrite it and do it over from the beginning. And I just want to say thank you. I have another question, but I'll wait till the next.
Concerning fundamental law, using that English phrase to identify fundamental law or foundation laws, it's kind of like it gives a mistranslation, the idea. So using our Navajo language, as indigenous, yeah. So long before the coming of the European, their explanation about that is the Great Spirit put us here, on this land here, in these mountains here, that this is like a sanctuary, like a place where God put us here, and we are allowed to live here, to make us available to us, water, air, food that we're going to consume here. That's our sovereignty, that's how we are. So the federal government or these government that came to this region at the time of the signing of the treaty, they identified that and they noticed that. So, and then they said, oh yeah, you have a divinity or God. We have something like that, a government. So nation to nation, let's come together. We'll respect your belief, and likewise, you respect our belief here. And let's compromise and let's work together here. With your laws and our laws. With your education and our education. Let's be bilingual and be bicultural to sustain your life so that you could go on and to survive. So that's what we're talking about it. So like I said before, Christianity is good. There's nothing wrong with it. It's got good human nature. It's got a good philosophy in there. Everything's good about it. The question that I have is, how come we don't come together and talk about fundamental laws? How come we don't, organized church don't come together and they can't talk to one another on the reservation? I had this experience where I was sitting at home and the Mormon came to visit me, the elders, and then the Jehovah's Witness came in. They didn't know that the Mormons were already sitting in there. So they all come in and they were shocked, like I was all right with it, like I greeted them in. There was nothing wrong with me. But these two couldn't even, they couldn't even shake hands. What is wrong with organized churches today that we are sort of like neutral? We accepted it. But how come it feels like we're working against each other? Where the proper way to do it would be that we could organize a unity to tackle the problem of bootlegging, evil. They're organized. Gee, they don't say, you don't pray to the wrong God. You don't. They worship the devil, all sick, and they don't question it. And here we worship God and we'd say, hey, medicine man, you're like this, your church, here we're like this, that this. No, we're just not helping ourselves with that. So this government is, let's work together. Put something there that will be efficient, that's going to be healing in there. This politics that we have, and it's going on for 1,000 million years, let's not do it anymore. There's enough of it. Let's organize ourselves and communicate. I'm willing to sit down, yes. The problem is not us. There's only two beliefs. Either believe in good or evil. We shouldn't fight about that. We're against corruption. These problems that exist that hurts our generations today. From that generation where I have little children, I'm concerned about it. So that would be the answer. That would be the suggestion about that. So get the idea of organized churches coming together and working together in this government, because we fall under the same clan, and let's use that. Let's mean something about that. If you pray, where we walk in beauty, God, Holy Spirit, Jesus, you believe in something, you go with that and learn to collaborate. You learn to communicate and live together. You form a unity, form a coalition that your goals and objective would be to make something good for our nations, our generations. And it doesn't have to have money dollar sign. You could just go out here under the shade. You don't have to rent a room like this and meet over there if you really care about it, sort of like. One day, Indian people had a convention over there in Washington State. The water line broke, and they had to cancel the conference because there's no water, there's no restroom. You could go out there and, like old people, just sit in the shade and make progress.
Thank you. Thanks again to this panel. Sorry we can't take any more questions at this time, but we'll have a discussion afterward that we can.